we're calling this because, and hopefully somebody from the sheriff's department's going to get on, but really like Nancy said, we're just talking about checking off the mark. And I understand that some of the areas that have been asked to leave are having trouble with looting. And like one of the officers just said, sometimes it's just the neighbor helping the other person, but we need to give them the opportunity to address this if it is looting. So, Stephen, did you want to add anything?
I invited the sheriff and Angie, and I heard that Captain Strangefeld might try to make it as well. But you do have authority under your current emergency declaration to impose curfews. The imposition of a curfew would or could be countywide. It's the area that's designated as the emergency area, and it is countywide currently, the emergency area. You could phase it in the manner in which you discussed during your previous meeting, based on the levels of evacuation and fire hazards within the county itself. And you could ask that the sheriff's office and all municipal law enforcement enforce the curfew in that type of manner. So this would be countywide, and it would apply within cities.
Okay, so I think that if we're gonna do this, we should limit it to areas where fires are in progress or people have been asked to leave, not just a general countywide curfew. What do you guys think? Paul?
Well, I might want to suggest we do it on level 1, level 2 and 3. As Nancy said earlier, it's very dynamic. I'm moving my daughter out of her house here later this evening or this afternoon. So I can understand how a lot of people want to be able to move around. I'm kind of concerned that people might interpret the curfew as limiting their ability to actually escape. So we need to message this correctly so that people know that they can actually leave their home and not leave themselves in danger. So if we make it too broad, we'll have that problem to some degree. But if it only amounts to giving the law enforcement the opportunity to pull someone over that is a suspect of looting or whatever it may be, then that's fine. But I think that my concern might be, because we're already experiencing a panic right now. I'll just tell you, people are panicking.
Sure.
And the message of going from level 1, 2, and 3 is great. And then the change in the map is just lit my phone up and everything else. So I would just be concerned that it's people interpret that as not leaving their home and staying put until sunrise.
Yeah. Well, Sue's on the phone. I see that. I'm sure that that will be communicated.
We will.
Yes, Sonia.
So I don't know how to do the raise hand. So sorry, I'm on an iPad. I would like to hear from the sheriff if we just give that discretion for him to decide, because we're in such a dynamic situation that I'm concerned about us putting any sideboards on this. I think that the sheriff may need to make that determination. So I'm just curious what their perspective is.
Well, we don't have them here, and they can communicate back with us later, their perspective. But for now, we're just checking the box. Are we good to check the box?
Yeah, I'm good to check the box, but I'm not comfortable putting limitations on it just because things are so dynamic right now.
I think the only limitation I would be is that due to fire.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean, Jim.
Well, because there's been a lot of other discussion about curfews due to rioting or protests. I've got my dogs barking.
You got dogs barking?
No.
I thought they were my dogs, Jim. Never mind.
Wait a minute. Wrong dogs are barking.
I'll wait for Jim to get back. I'm happy to make a motion to check the box countywide. And if the sheriff suggests something different, we can come back and revisit it.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'll second that, Paul.
So
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Ken wanted to
I
add.
just wanted you to know that the deputies had contacted me requesting this. So and they also ran it up their own flagpole. So, you know, they are very much in support of this. They feel that they need this as a tool because of problems they're having on the streets with looting. So apparently they've had some very direct problems.
Okay, so any further discussion? Let's see who's gonna poll us.
I'm here, but Administrator Schmidt did have his hand up. So
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Commissioners, I'm concerned about enforcement. I mean, the sheriff's staff may think this is a good idea, but who's going to enforce it? I mean, they're overwhelmed right now handling just the fire evacuations. So I guess I'm suggesting we have to really coordinate this with the sheriff.
well, yeah. To me, Gary, I think my response is that if the request came from law enforcement, it's probably up to law enforcement's discretion as far as how they enact it, right?
Give them the tool, and they've got the tool. They can figure out how to use it.
Yeah, they don't have to use it.
Okay. I do recommend you set some boundaries for us today. It sounds like countywide. What are the hours? I think there's going to be some mass confusion as soon as this meeting ends. Who's on curfew, when, and how? So.
Okay, so no, I think that's legitimate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull my motion until we sort this out. So
Well,
we
what you
need
do-
guidance, but we don't have law enforcement on the call.
What you can do is you can agree to check the box. It doesn't mean that you are necessarily imposing it with parameters. I do agree it might cause some confusion as to, does it prohibit people from being on highways and leaving their property and elsewhere? But you currently have in yours, you have the opportunity to barricade streets and roads. It does not mean you're doing that. You do possess the authority to do so. You did not check closed bars and taverns, but if you did, you would have been authorized to close bars and taverns, but you have not done that. It doesn't, just checking the box doesn't make it so. It gives you the authority under this state of emergency. You certainly could reconvene or give the authority, the discretion to the sheriff's office and municipal law enforcement to come up with some tighter parameters. I agree, it would be good to hear from the actual enforcers of this provision to hear what their concerns are. Is it just downtown city areas or is it rural areas? It's unclear to me what is necessarily driving the curfew question at this point, but you certainly could check the box and save the details for later.
it says there's an iPhone in the waiting room. Is that perhaps the sheriff or somebody?
I don't see a waiting room.
Well, there's an iPhone connecting now.
I see it.
Hello, who's on the iPhone? Yeah, we don't know. Well, I mean,
Judy
so,
Smith here.
oh, okay. Hi, Judy. So a curfew, I think that it's related to fire. I don't know why you would want to make it county-wide. And it would be level 2 and 3 as necessary by the sheriff. As deemed necessary by the sheriff. I mean, we got to have another meeting to discuss this.
Well, I like what Mr. Madcore said, and I concur with that. So I'm willing, I'll make the motion again after withdrawing it to check the box and let law enforcement and emergency services use the tool at their discretion.
Okay, I'm good with that.
And I'll second that again. And we could do a tentative, another emergency gathering after we hear from the sheriff if he wants some sideboards on this, if that would be helpful.
Sure.
we can always amend it if that would be helpful for communication. And the other piece is Sue, what are we doing as far as our communication about this? Because I want to make sure that we strategize minimizing confusion, concern, increased panic. And Stephen has his hand raised.
So we have
Yeah.
somebody, wait, we've
We
got
do have
somebody here
Jeff
from the
Smith
sheriff's
Sheriff's
office.
Let's hear from him, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chair Bernard, I assume you're referring to me?
yes.
Yeah, I apologize that I'm late, and I'm working in the EOC, and it's a little chaotic here, and I got pulled off, and I just got on at exactly 3 o'clock, so thanks for your patience. The sheriff got pulled away to a news conference, as did Captain Strangfield. So for everyone in the room who doesn't know me, I'm Captain Jeff Smith, and so I'm appearing on their behalf.
Okay. Well, maybe you could answer some questions for us. The sheriff's department or various representatives have asked us to consider adding a curfew to our emergency ordinance. And at this point, the Board of County Commissioners would just check the box. And then the sheriff's, can you tell us what the sheriff envisions?
Yeah, so if I could hopefully elaborate and give you guys some information, so it helps in helping you make your decision on that. So yeah, the reason we're asking for a curfew, and we would probably liken that to the time of the noise ordinance to be implemented around 10 p.m. overnight. There are lots of confirmed reports of looting, mostly in the outlying areas, Estacada, Colton, Molalla, Sandy, mostly in the outlying areas. Lots of looting has been taking place, burglaries and whatnot. There's reports of, and this is not specific to an area, but all over the county, both outlying and even closer into town, of people of extremist groups staging gas cans for later destruction. And equally concerning is there are reports of people from other extremist groups. It's not confirmed Antifa, but suspected Antifa. This is more specific to the Estacada area. Reports and sightings of people armed with chainsaws. And the goal was to fall telephone poles in hopes of starting further fires. And that's all the information I have at this point.
All right, so anybody Sonia?
I'm not sure I understand when you say gas cans, staging gas cans. Could you give a little more information about that?
Well, specifically staging full gas cans in sort of concealed type areas to later be used by themselves or other members of their groups to initiate, the starting of further fires.
Yeah, but this is some media thing. I mean, it hasn't been confirmed, so.
No. That part is not. But the Antifa part, there have been reliable sightings and reports, not confirmed. But I mean, it's pretty specific. Being armed with chainsaws, falling telephone poles in the hopes of starting further fires, and the looting, burglaries in the outlying areas all over Clackamas County is definitely confirmed.
Yeah. All right, so we've agreed. I mean, it's been moved to second, it checked the box. And
Hey, Chair Bernard, can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So if this is happening, is there coordination with any other state or federal law enforcement in regards to these acts to increase resources? Or
So,
is that necessary?
I can't confirm any coordination with any federal law enforcement sources because I think most of them have been deployed downtown Portland. But I can tell you that here in our sheriff's EOC, we actually have a member of the state police here in our section with us.
Paul?
So after hearing that from Captain Smith here, I'm inclined, Jim, we got to make an appeal to the governor to call in the National Guard. I think that's critical information. That is very unsettling. There's not enough law enforcement resources in the sheriff's department to handle all that. And I think that I'm fine with the curfew countywide now, more so than I was 15 minutes ago. But for crying out loud, we can't allow a deliberate attack on property and people's lives and just somehow leave the National Guard out there, you know, sitting at home waiting for the call.
I'd be
So I
happy
wanna-
to call the governor.
Yeah, can I just ask a clarifying question? Because I want to make sure we aren't over exaggerating the situation. I think law enforcement has the best handle on when we would need to call in reinforcements or call in for the National Guard. So could you give us some insight onto that?
So
Yes.
I'm here speaking on behalf of the sheriff, but I would not want to decide on his behalf. So I'd prefer that he weigh in on that call to the governor specifically. I'd hate to make that call on his behalf.
Okay, so I would suggest as a commission that we hold off on calling the governor for that ask. We want to make sure it's a real ask if we're going to ask it, and we make sure we have confirmation from the sheriff that we need that. Or maybe we just say we're concerned and we want you to know, and we want the National Guard on standby if necessary.
So I guess my
Mark.
question is, how do we confirm that this is Antifa? I mean, you said that you've got it from reliable sources. You haven't captured anybody. What's a real solid way to confirm this? Because I think that's the tipping point. And right now we've all been thinking, oh, well, they're just rumors, but now we're hearing maybe not.
Yeah, Commissioner, I know this came from a sergeant on the street, but I don't know who his informants are at this time.
Okay, but we'll really have to know that for sure, because if that's true, then we don't want to have another layer of panic going out there.
Right. Well, I could probably take that issue of contacting the National Guard off of your guys' plate and hand it to the sheriff for a time when we have better information.
Okay.
But for now, and I guess the purpose of this call was more for me to weigh in on whether or not you guys should authorize the curfew, and it sounds like you're inclined to do so. And so maybe at this time we could hold our conversation to that, and I could defer the latter part of the conversation to the sheriff when he's available.
All right, so are we ready for Sonia? Your hand's still up?
Thanks, Chair Bernard. Yes, I do. I have one more question. I just wanted to clarify one of my concern. Oh, the Clackamas County Sheriff is calling me right now. Hello? Hello?
Wrong number.
Oh, it's an emergency alert. Okay, so that was my emergency alert to evacuate Oregon City. Sorry about that. That came from the Clackamas County Sheriff. The issue, and I'm tied in, I'm sure we all are, with our connections in the outlying areas of Clackamas County, but it's not only is this Antifa, but it's people's perception that there's a threat. And so we have very strong members of our community that believe in protection of life, property, and we could have some unrest, which we need to have be measuring the pulse of that in our community. So it's beyond a specific group.
All right, we're all getting alerts. So are we ready to be polled?
Yes.
Wow.
I think I'm ready to pull you guys.
I wonder, I have not gotten an alert, so what am I
Well,
missing?
that's because you're not in an area that's been brought to a level 2.
You're in Oregon City. You're going to get.
It's specific to what cell phone tower your phone is pinging on right now.
Yeah.
So it's a geographic alert.
Well, Sonia, are you at home in Lake Oswego, or are you someplace else?
My phone pings to Oregon City.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm at home.
Are we ready to be polled on this?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, here
Please
we go.
poll us.
I will. Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Humbertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Savis,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
and Chair Bernard.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. All right, with that,
Hey, Chair,
thank you. Yes,
Captain Smith had recommended a time period of 10 p.m. to a particular overnight. Are we looking at putting some details on it? Do you want it 10 p.m. till 5 a.m., 6 a.m.? Is it going to be detailed in such a way that you want it to say that this curfew applies with the exception of travel and movement that is deemed absolutely necessary for the safety and preservation of person and property, something along those lines? Or do you just want to say blanket curfew from 10 to 5 or 6?
Well, this is what I was suggesting, is that we put some parameters on it.
Well, but my motion was to leave it at the discretion of law enforcement and emergency personnel. So that was the motion we just approved. So if you want to, if you want to meet with the sheriff and everyone else and come up with some parameters, I'm happy to chime in at another meeting and put those parameters on there if you think it's necessary.
Gary and Sue, are you good with that message?
I'm sorry, I'm concerned, commissioners. You've just made a pretty bold statement. And what are the facts? What are we telling the public? Yes, there's a curfew, but later to be determined, which is fine. Or are you making a decision right now on time and place and so forth?
Just do it.
Well, maybe what we don't broadcast it until we get those parameters nailed down with
Exactly.
law enforcement.
Yeah, I think we have to confer with law enforcement and see what the parameters are, and then communicate one time, not multiple.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't know about this, so we need to check in with them to see what they were thinking.
Yeah, just let us know after we have those parameters. Let all the commissioners know.
Will
So,
do.
Gary?
so we had a few minutes before this call began to have this conversation. So I can give you non-specifics, but we've had conversations that effectively you guys have captured in your conversation. It wouldn't be absolute. There would be some exceptions. It would be at the discretion of law enforcement, some things of that nature. So Commissioner Savas, does that satisfy? I believe that was consistent with your motion.
I think that's the intention, yes.
Okay. I can tell you internally on the front end of this conversation, we on our side have had that conversation that essentially mirrors the one you had as well.
All right.
Chair
So,
Bernard,
yes?
I am going to email you the current executed declaration of emergency. You will check the box, which is A, and you will circulate it back to us. Is that good?
Sure.
Excellent. I'll do that right now.
Okay, thank you.
So
All right.
All right,
I have one more, Chair. I'm not done, please.
Yes.
So there was a request from one of our cities that just before the mayor's meeting ended, would the county consider banning lawn equipment that causes sparks, like lawn mowers, some chainsaws? Apparently there are some in cities who are doing this still, and despite the fire warnings, and cities are told they don't have the authority to make that, only the county can do that. So is that something you would consider? And Stephen, is that even something the board can?
isn't that a fire marshal thing?
And that's what I had asked when we did the fire emergency. Nancy said that the fire district already declared a prohibition on any fires, burning fireworks, spark emitting equipment and things like that. We could check with the extent of what the fire marshal's order was and see if it does prohibit all that. And if so, we're good. And if not, we can visit this as soon as possible.
Yep.
We'll do that.
Yeah, so let's check with the fire district and get back on that. I definitely agree, but we are not going to be enforcing law.
One thing I just want to make perfectly clear, I think a lot of us know that, but we didn't really say it today.
Look at the phone.
And that is that the fire is now under the control of the state fire marshal, right? So
No, I thought it was the federal.
No, it's
Okay.
the state fire marshal with resources from the federal government.
Okay.
okay.
Right.
So and anything that happens as far as choosing what to do or anything is now in the state's hands, not ours, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. I just want everyone on the call to know that.
All right. Are we good? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bernard and commissioners for taking the time.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye.